What made you want to play for Coach K when you're coming out of high school?
Well, it didn't start when I was in high school. I watched Christian Laettner hit the shot to beat Kentucky. I was sitting on the floor. My parents were sitting behind me on the couch. And it was one of my first basketball memories. And after he hit the shot and Duke won, I turned to them and I was like, I'm going to play for Duke someday. They probably thought I was crazy. They probably thought I was crazy. So really, it was a lifelong dream for me to play here. And it didn't take long for Coach to say, hey, you can commit. And I think it was 2 days later, I was ready to make that commitment. And it was the best decision I ever made at 16 years old.
Shane, you were at Detroit Country Day. Why did you want to leave Michigan and play for Coach K?
People always ask me, like, what makes Coach K so great? He knows what button to push. And so he came into my house when I was 16 years old. And I had other coaches promise me minutes, shots, starting positions. Coach K said, Shane, I'll promise you one thing. The opportunity to earn playing time every day in practice. And if you're good enough, you'll earn it. I said, oh, I don't know about Elton Brand. I don't know about Rashawn McLeod, but I'm going to earn it. And so he had me when I was 16 years old, like pushing that competitive button, and he had me hook, line, and sinker. And like JJ, it was the best decision ever made.
Well, that's unfortunate for you because he promised the rest of us we'd start. Trajan, coming from Alaska, how did you say yes to him?
Initially, he came up on his home visit to come see us. I think it was September, October of my senior year in high school. Came to the house, had a nice visit, and on his way out, those of you that didn't know Alaska, on his way out to the car, the northern lights were in the sky. And obviously it was a kind of a sign for him. At the time, I didn't know what I was going to do, but then once I got on campus, had a great time. Jeff Capel was my host. And then I had to catch, obviously, an early flight to get back home, 5:45 or something. Coach met me outside, and my dad had told me, whatever you do, do not commit on campus. Coach came, said a couple words, and I said, Coach, I'm ready to come. So that's how it happened for me. It was pretty easy.
What sold you on Coach K?
Well, for me, coming from a proud Polish family, it was really a non-decision. The question was I going to be good enough to be able to play at Duke? And once I reached that level, at least in Coach's eyes, and they offered me a scholarship, it was pretty much done at that.
JJ, so the recruiting process a little bit different than playing for him. Yeah. What was the first time he really jumped you and made you feel this big?
I remember the moment well. I'm not going to repeat the word on the air that he used. But it was, I don't know, probably the 10th or 11th game of my freshman year. We were playing a home game here in Cameron against Georgetown, and I had an awful first half. I didn't score in the first half, and he comes in the locker room and just rips me. And it was, truthfully, in 4 years, the only time he ever yelled at me. Like Shane said, he knew what buttons to push. On that particular night, I needed to hear a certain word, and I went out and killed in the second half.
Shane, how about you?
Ironically, it was after our freshman year when Carolina beat us by double digits. It's the only time we lost by double digits, right? Film session the next day was not fun. And if you've been in a Coach K film session, you do not want to be on the other end of his feedback, I guess you could say. And he got to me, and he says, and Battier, I'm Mr. All-American. Everybody loves me. I'm so smart. And he said some things I can't say on air, but it was not very nice. And I vowed to myself, that's the last time he's ever going to talk to me like that. And it was to this day, my mom, my dad, my wife, he's the only person that yelled at me like that ever. And so, amazing day I'll never forget.
Trajan, will your therapist let you talk about it? Can you?
Sure. Yeah, no, mine's a great one. I didn't get ripped until my sophomore year because Wojo and I's first year, obviously, Coach referred to it a little bit about his health state, so he was only there for about 11, 12 games. So going into my sophomore year, we play Australia here at home in the exhibition season. I'm sure Will remembers this. And I'm guarding Andrew Gaze, the Australian legend, and he torches me. I mean, he gives me like 34. And we win the game, but he comes in the locker room, and he goes around in Coach K style, and he's hitting everybody and how bad they are, how good they are. And he gets to me, and he goes, Trajan, I mean, like, you were effing deplorable. And I was pretty smart. I thought my SATs, they were average for Duke, but, you know, above average across board. But I didn't know what the word meant. So I had to go home and look it up. And I knew I was bad, but I didn't know I was that bad.
Wojo?
So for me, he took a little bit of a different tact because, you know, like most Polish families, if somebody's yelling at you, that's a good thing. It's when they're silent. I think it's in the Polish handbook somewhere. That's when you're in trouble. So at the end of my sophomore year, in the old locker room, they had a players' lounge. And I don't ever remember when there was an organized meeting in the players' lounge that it was ever pleasant. So when he called me into the players' lounge, I sat down and he said, "How do you feel like the year went?" You know, I said, "Some good, some bad, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know." And he said, "Well, I think you were a better player in high school. You're too heavy, you don't lead, and your ball handling needs to be improved." I said, "Other than that, I'm doing pretty well." And really, it was one of those moments, and I think we all had them at different times, where as a player, you were at a crossroads, and you could decide to leave potential on the table or commit to being the best version of yourself at that time. And that meeting for me was transformational. And, you know, fortunately, I ended up being one of the best 200 players ever to play for Coach. And J.J. Redick, 17th all-time favorite Blue Devil.
Well, JJ, what's it going to feel like tonight when you're on the floor before the game?
Yeah, you know, walking in here 20 minutes ago to go in the back, you already feel the emotion. I would expect a lot of us to be emotional. And Coach talks about going into battle mode or going into character. I'm just going to enjoy the moment.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.